As you exit the building, you nearly bump into someone passing by, a young woman.
Does she look like... Oh, sorry. Does she look like the woman in the photo by any chance?
No. She's dressed up for a night on town. Hair in spikes, and
Oh.
looks like she's heading to a club.
On the way out, I'll say, oh, you going somewhere fun tonight then?
Going to the slaughterhouse, best place to be.
The slaughterhouse is certainly quite the club.
She looks you up and down. Yes, it is. And then she walks on past.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting, but may mean nothing. So I continue on my way, and I'm pulling the lookout position. I'm in Overwatch.
I will say, as you're there, you're watching, you're a patient individual. You have to be sometimes when you're being hunted by various eldritch forces. It's sometimes about where you hide rather than where you run to. So, holding position, being solid as a rock, as you sometimes appear, comes naturally to you.
Mm.
And so your mind just keeps flashing. It flashes to what Lady Goldacre said about this idea of a member of the Winter Court must always remain in Odense. That the last time something like this happened, it was blamed on the Winter Court, and it was the Winter Court who were responsible for fixing the issue.
Right.
Your mind flashes to the two women in the photograph. What could have happened to the other one? What might have caused what happened above? You try and work out, in a mundane situation, something completely removed from your world, what could have caused what happened in that apartment.
I mean, a bad breakup is like a person is at a club alone. Like, there's a lot of passion that has happened there and a lot of anger. A death or a bad breakup are both the kind of things that cause those, not set yourself on fire levels, but we're assuming supernatural exacerbation of the issue. Figuring out where the other woman is, if she is still around, matters. But like it almost has to be. It has to be related to the other woman, because there were no other photos. All of the other photos had obviously been taken down. The only one that was found was the one that had slipped aside. It has to do with her, whether she is dead or has left her or they had a giant blow-up fight. Like, it has to, she's the focal point, I think, of this woman's anger and sadness.
Okay. Thomas. Yeah. You're rummaging through the bathroom, seeing what you can see. It's not a massive crime scene for you to investigate. It is surprisingly clean in here, but perhaps that's because this room hasn't been used much. And that's always worrying.
Do I remember her kind of being unkempt?
No, she looked like she was ready for a night at the club. She looked good, smelled good, seemed severe, seemed upset, as far as you recall it. And Maya, as she was following this individual, seemed upset, acerbic over the phone with someone. But certainly she seemed well groomed. What you identify in the bathroom quite swiftly is whoever has done themselves up to go out tonight did it out of a travel bag. There's a travel bag containing makeup, perfume, shampoo, conditioner, and so on. And some of that equipment has been put back in to the bag. Some of it's just been left on the side of the sink. But the bathroom cabinet seems to be mostly empty. There's a pot of pills in there. That's the only medication you can find. Otherwise, it's a pretty regular bathroom.
Do I recognize what pills they are? Are they kind of like obviously antidepressants, or are they just like painkillers?
They are antidepressants.
Okay, I'll grab like the antidepressants and the travel bag and kind of like take them both to Liza and Maya and kind of say like just sort of put them both on the table and say who lives here but uses the bathroom out of a travel bag, and these tablets, she must have had problems before.
I'm going to ask you to do either this one's tricky. What do I make you roll here? Do either a medicine plus wits or investigation plus wits, please, Thomas, and whoever you're addressing. I guess Liza and Maya. You all get a chance for this.
It'll just be wits. So.
You do need 3 or more successes to notice this.
Yeah, no, there's no way I can do that. So. Physically impossible. One success, but
okay.
Yeah,
What was the threshold for that?
You need 3 successes. There's a reason for that.
I got 4.
4 successes. Okay.
I got a exceptional success sitting at 5. I spent willpower on that roll.
Okay.
Well, in that case, Liza, perhaps most importantly, shows to Thomas at this point that she does bring something to the table. Because as Maya works this out with computer-like speed and accuracy, Liza just picks it up. The bottle of antidepressants was only issued last week. According to the label on the bottle, there were supposed to be 40 tablets in here. Judging from the rattle, there's less than 10. Fewer than 10 in there now. Someone's been chugging antidepressants.
That's not as prescribed at all. That's oh, can you overdose on antidepressants? Do we have anyone who has medical background here? I feel like either way, whatever was going on here, this person didn't feel like it was working.
I mean, I don't have a medical. Oh no, I'm outside. I'm not responding.
Your psychic wavelength said.
Maya has some experience kind of following up on people who don't want to be found. And that kind of almost feels like what's happening here. She doesn't really know much about the antidepressants. She knows that a lot of people in the military were prescribed them. She knows that you're not supposed to drink when you're taking them. So if the woman at the bar were doing both, it would probably be very dangerous. Presumably the woman knew this. So Maya's kind of figuring that this might not have been a spontaneous thing at all, that this might have been in the works for some time. They essentially limited what they needed to being from within a bag, and that way when they were ready to go, that's all there was. She'd kind of pass that information on to Liza, and just, it doesn't sit well with her, and she's not sure why, but now she's interested to find out what was going on, that made this woman plan to do something like this.
One thing I want to ask real quick, one of the persistent effects of Mimir's wisdom is knowing when something is, when a scene has been tampered with to conceal evidence or the truth of what's happened. Has that happened here? Is that alerting her horror in any way? Does it seem like
no. Perhaps most interestingly of all, this scene you've found, other than what you four have done to it, is as seen.
So she would inform them there's no cover-up, nothing but like that going on here.
A police car rolls up to the apartment block. The lights, blue lights, aren't flashing, so it looks like a regular car until it's right outside.
Okay. And it is stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to dial the phone number. And I'm going to let it ring, and I'm going to tell my compatriots that the police seem to be arriving.
Liza wouldn't even actually answer it. She knows what the phone ringing from number she's not used to means. She's like, all right, Robot Girl and Wolfman, we got to get moving right now. And immediately steps away from what they're doing and kind of marches right out the door of... well, when they're stepping outside, like they're stepping out into an internal hallway, right? Like out of the building into sight of the police.
That's right, yeah, you're on an internal hallway between 3 different apartments. As you're going out, I'm going to ask, because it's important that you specify, what, if anything, are any of you taking from the apartment?
Liza is not taking anything. I believe Maya has the flash drive that has the things she wanted. She will not be taking the calendar, I don't think. So the knowledge that she has gained along the way.
Thomas is only taking the Oscar's student the ID card and kind of just still pocketed away, and he hasn't shared it yet. So.
Mm-hmm.
I have the photo, by the way.
Okay.
And Maya is only taking what she's got on the flash drive.
Mm-hmm. So everyone's taken a little bit of something from this dead person's apartment. How delightful. You'll all remember her in your own way. It's not difficult to evade the police. It's just a single investigator and a uniformed officer, so a detective and an officer, who enter. Presumably one, just in case there's conflict to be found, the other, in case there's a crime scene. And you can move up the stairs for a while, so that you don't pass them on the staircase. When they enter, you head on downstairs, find Connor outside. All very easy.
I'm glad I went outside to watch.
There's a light drizzle of rain now, as the night has darkened. It's at least 2 a.m. by this point. Helps keep you alert.
Liza's very interested to do some research on the stuff that they found and would propose heading back to the hotel she's staying at in order to see if they can put any further pieces together based on what this woman was working on. The antidepressants that they saw, with her eidetic memory, would she have been able to see and remember where those were prescribed?
Yeah, they were prescribed at the hospital.
So she'd note that it might be worth looking into, seeing if this town is eating people up. Maybe there's been a surge in those types of prescriptions lately. Should probably suggest that to a group as a potential action item.
Your basic knowledge of this, and Maya's as well, also tells you. Usually if you have medication like that prescribed at the hospital, you were admitted to the hospital for something. Otherwise, you would get your medication prescribed by your general medical practitioner.
Mm-hmm. She may have had a breakdown of some sort, or some sort of traumatic injury that bothered her on a deep level. Although I'm feeling breakdown is really quite logical.
I'm not sure if it's a good idea to split the party yet, but I'm kind of thinking that since it's about like 2 or 3 a.m. and like out of character, and Garrett has said to meet the pack, I'm going to like Thomas is going to just do his best to put the charm on I'm gonna say that look, I know we got off on the wrong foot. I want to solve this as much as any of you, and I lost control. I behaved highly uncivilly. I apologize. Let us swap phone numbers. We can keep in touch to investigate. I will talk to my people and see if they have heard of anything.
Liza would be on board with that, despite the brief incident between them. She'd provide her contact information at the very least.
Yeah, and we should certainly continue looking into this. I feel like this has happened before, and that there are legends within my people that speak of it. But I have to follow up on that to be sure it's actually related. My only worry is that this could be ramping up, not down. We'll see.
That's the spring court attitude, I think. The world is open to encounters like this. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, in that case, we are splitting the party up. And we got a bit of time left to keep playing. So, let's deal with Thomas first. Thomas, you're heading to the cathedral.
Yes.
Your pack often meets up in the ancient grounds of the cathedral. This cathedral has stood for many centuries. And as mentioned before, it towers above Odense. From wherever you are in the city, you can see the spire. So, for a pack of ivory claws, to be honest, there's no building more important to them. You're not the last person to arrive. Garrett has arrived by the time you get there. But you do see 3 of the other members of your pack are in attendance. Kalia, Pride, and Rio, all in the cemetery, standing, leaning, sitting near gravestones, smoking, despite the fact they are pure.
Well, that's there, isn't it? I mean, I don't. I just sort of approach very, even more differently than usual, because I know that I've screwed things up with the totem, and I just I'll explain what happened, and I've just come from the place of the woman who's set herself on fire in the club. There's something going on.
For all that he is usually a rather reclusive, quiet werewolf, when he sees you approaching, stands up and is about to charge at you.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
Rio and Kalia hold him back. You stupid little whelp. Do you know what you've done? You've opened up our territory. You've just opened the door to other creatures that consort with our enemies. You are consorting with our enemies. Kalia says, enough. Enough. We do not need this kind of fighting. The Odin Tower has told us everything. Has told us that you have extended your trust to 3 newcomers. You didn't consult the pack first, but you have given your word to the totem, and therefore if they betray it, it is on your head.
Right.
That is not why I am angry. I'm not angry because he's gone and passed his hallowed judgment, this pup. I don't care that he might have pissed off our totem. I care about what he's trying to delve into. And I'm telling you, Thomas, that while I heard of what you did to your father on our behalf, and I took great pride in that, I'm not going to stand for you to endanger this city with fraternizations. Get that? You understand me?
I understand.
Well, that's not your call to make, Pride. That's my call to make. Clearly, the two of you need to discuss this in private at some point. Tell us what you found.
We still don't know the identity of the woman who set herself on fire. There's something off about the whole situation. It's not natural. Something's driving her, and I don't know what it is. I might be good at tracking, but I'm not good at playing psychic. But I'm concerned that whatever it is could not be an isolated incident, or could in the future not be an isolated incident.
It isn't an isolated incident. Despite all of Pride's fears, Pride rankles at that, there have been other egregious cases of individuals ending their lives in the city.
Recently?
Last happened a few years ago. Some of our friends in the hospital have reported things like this happening in the last couple of months as well. Nowhere near as they did, I think it was 4 years ago now. There was about a dozen suicides within a 2-week period, which is quite high, even for Denmark. But the deaths this time appear even more violent in nature. There's something to be enjoyed about the base human just ending their lives because they know they're futile and weak. But there is something mysterious, probably spiritual influence, the kind of thing that our fire-touched brethren would tell us to not investigate because this is the will of the shadow. But we are not so beholden.
Do you think these people are ridden?
The thought crossed my mind. And mine. It's Rio speaking up for the first time. But why, if you were ridden, would you just kill yourself? That is not often the agenda of the spirits. They very rarely take possession of a body just to kill it. Happens sometimes, but not in such great number. Not unless there are some incredibly powerful spirits of self-harm, self-destruction and suicide in this part of the world, but I can't say we've ever encountered them. There's something else at play here. It may not be our business to know. The danger comes if it starts hitting any of our wolf-blooded, any of our people. then it's our business. You hear the voice of your totem. You will protect. You will protect my territory. And all of the pack hear it. Then it is our problem. It is our problem if anyone in the city kills themselves. Clearly, you are not completely at odds with what the Odin's Tower wants. Is there anything you need of the pack?
If anything, I owe the pack and the totem for not keeping in touch, for not speaking to you about it when I made my call, and whatever act of penance you think is appropriate, I want to make it right.
Oh, it is duly noted. But as you should know by now, Thomas, I am not some predator king that is going to make you charge through the city, pluck a babe from arms and kill it to prove your fealty. We of the Ivory Claws are not so savage. No. When I decide on your penance, it will be suitable, it will be appropriate for your crime, and there will be a lesson for you to learn from. I am not a sadist. Rio laughs at that. I do not like to punish members of my own pack. Rio laughs again. But you will learn from your mistakes. That's all I expect.
And it won't happen again.
Your phone rings.
Okay. It's scary, isn't it?
No, it says unknown caller.
I don't answer it.
Okay. Not important, says Kalia.
It's nobody I know, and I don't want anybody I don't know to so much as come in contact with this place.
That's good. This is sacred territory. Most of us switch our phones off when we get here, but as Garrett still hasn't arrived.
I do switch off my phone the moment she says it, but too late, but just fumbling too, yeah.
She steps up to you and quite obnoxiously grabs you by your chin.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn to act less scared. We're never going to respect you until you develop respect for yourself. And she lets your face go.
And just fair point.
We know that you are one of us. We know what you can do. We have been on a couple of very important hunts together. Don't you remember how we, with that Iron Master?
That was one of the most amazing things.
And you buried your claws into him just as deeply as the rest of us. You bit a chunk out of him just like the rest of us did. We know what you're capable of. But you need to remember what you are when you're not on the hunt. This is the difficulty, Thomas. This is where you go wrong. We are all predators when we're not on the hunt. But when you're walking around among the pink-skinned lukewarm-blooded humans. You act lower than them. And it shows. Look how you are with us right now. You're behaving like lower than a wolf-blooded, having to tell the pack in charge that you left a hole in the gauntlet. Whoops. So it isn't a question of you proving yourself here. It's a question of you bettering your act. If you can't do it, pretend you can do it.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
Quite.
You're right, though. I've not been representing both myself or our tribe respectfully, and I will do my best to change my behavior.
You hear at that point a call from beyond the cemetery. Oi, oi, Tommy boy.
At this point, Thomas has been like enough through the night to, and I think especially after that, like, quote unquote pep talk, he doesn't cower as much. When Garrett arrives, he just says, "Garrett, how's your patrol been?"
Oh, uneventful. Well, I say uneventful. Uneventful for me. Eventful for the poor fucker I pushed in front of a bus. Although I think he was going to go for it himself. I just gave him a nudge.
What do you mean you think?
You don't usually ask me about my exploits?
Considering that somebody just set themselves on fire, and now you're saying somebody was about to jump in front of us, it just seems related.
If you say so. I've seen lots of people die. Cause lots of hearts to stop. Yeah, so. Guy looks drunk, stood on the curb, the bus is coming. And I think, well, his arm's not out, he's not trying to hail the damn thing. Is he just going to stand out? Step out? And I thought, I've got a place to be. I've got to come here. So I helped him along.
Always a helping hand.
Yeah. Bounding through the city.
Oh?
It's not exactly
Not a
hunting,
huge loss.
is it, Garrett? No, it's not exactly hunting, but it's not exactly harming anyone, is it? No one important, anyhow.
Right, so do you want me to I assume yes, but do you want me to continue to follow up the investigation as to the woman in the club, or should we just leave it?
Follow it up. Find out whether it endangers the city. That's what our totem wants.
And that is what I will do.
And I will speak to you, as Pride, one-on-one tomorrow.
Right.
It's late. Let's all try getting some rest.
Yeah. I'll kind of. I don't want to be the first to dart away, but I'll sort of like shuffle out if people are leaving.
They all start peeling off. Pride is the last one. He's just sat on Tombstone, watching you.
I mean, I would say something, but he'll probably have plenty to tell me when we do sit down, so I just turn around and leave.
watching you.
Rightly so.
Okay, on to our other three. I believe all three of you are sticking together, that's correct?
I think so.
Yep.
You head back to the hotel.
That's my suggestion.
I'm
Maya would
okay
have,
with that.
yeah, Maya would have no other suggestions.
Okay, did we ascertain which hotel you were staying at?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think you are staying at the first Hotel Grand. Why not? Nice and central. You go to your room, which you've already started bedecking with books that you've picked up of interest to you. Mostly touristy stuff, but you absorb whatever knowledge you can find. Lay the evidence you've got out on the bed and desk.
I'm gonna take a just a few minutes to use the bathroom. Is that cool? You guys are good with that? I'm just gonna, cool. So I'm gonna use the hotel bathroom, and while they're doing this, I'm gonna pull out my my seedy romance novel, and I'm going to activate it.
Oh,
I
boy.
cannot let them see this, because there's a specific person who will follow me around trying to get it from me forever. And I'm specifically, so I'll be spending the glamour to activate it, and I'm looking for an information on a location that would fit Liza's needs for somewhere local that has been supernaturally affected, and someone has a human has suffered extreme mental trauma or death by supernatural.
Ooh. Using the knowledge you have, and the artifact at your disposal.
Yep, I think I do have to make a roll for it. I'm pulling it up right now. Hold on 2 seconds.
So a place where supernatural, inspired, or caused death might have occurred.
Okay, I need to make an intelligence and mental skill roll that you think is applicable.
I imagine occult is probably accurate, or academics if we're talking about the history of the city.
I'll do occult since I'm going less history of the city and more knowledge of local. Although I actually have the same dots in both, so
Okay.
let me roll it real quick. And 2 successes. So not exceptional, but I guess I get exceptional on 3 in this one. But I do get the knowledge that I sought. Exceptional, I get the informed condition regarding a bunch of the details around it.
The location that comes to your mind isn't one you know a great deal about, but you know something happened there. You know it wasn't to do with the changelings. In fact, the lost of the city made it quite clear that was not our problem. We did not cause this issue, because it involved a lot of adults becoming very creepy all of a sudden, and a lot of children getting very scared. And there was an accident that resulted in a child getting crushed underneath a antique tractor. And this was at the Danish Railway Museum in Odense. Now, the odd thing about it was how charges weren't pressed. It was in the news one moment and out of the news the next. As far as the world was concerned, it was an accident.
Mhm.
But the courts of the Changelings, it was a hot topic of discussion for a while that something very strange was going on at the Railway Museum. And then all of a sudden it was nipped in the bud. The mess was cleaned up, and whoever was behind it, and these adults and it was the tour guides, the people running the museum, they had just lost part of what made them compassionate or care about their jobs or at all human, quite frankly. It was like they'd all been replaced, and so for a while people were saying, Changelings were saying, is that an entire army of fetches pouring out of this museum? But no, it was quickly stamped down. That was not the case.
That's strange, but that all makes sense now. That's an obvious place that would work.
The reason it's still particularly resonant as a location is because among children, it's now a place children don't want to go. For a while,
Right.
The Railway Museum was one of the most popular spots for schools to take their children, but children just talk now about the creepy adults who will pin you underneath trains and tractors and on rails, and you'll lose your limbs. As far as you know, only one child died there, but one child is enough.
And do I feel like, and I may not know this, do I feel like that's only kids talking to kids, or is it when kids get dragged there by their parents, things feel wrong?
Yes, the latter.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. No, that's perfect. I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a place I'd like to go all that much, but still, I guess, a useful place for our friend. Thank you.
Okay, in the hotel room, Maya and Liza, what are you looking up on these flash drives and the like? Just pouring through the information?
Yeah, I think looking through the information there, and then although it's not her preferred method because it results in her feeling a little disjointed, I think Liza probably would utilize Soul Communion to reference the library that exists in the heart of her lair, and kind of cross-reference the information, any information there regarding the saga or any of the other historical stuff versus the information that's available on the files they took, and versus what she understands to be the official information regarding the saga, because she has a hunch that this might all tie together, and she's very interested in putting the pieces together.
Okay. I mean, you're essentially accessing your internal library, but I'm still going to ask you to make an intelligence and academics roll, if I could.
Does my specialty in research apply?
Yes, it would help, yes. You're researching historical information.
And that specialty I actually have area of expertise for, so that should be a +2.
Wonderful.
And just because, as stated, I'm going to spend that point of satiety to add that one last dot that I would need in academics to make it 5 dots. As well as, because you can add mental skills or library dots, so we'll do a 2-dot library on that topic to represent her referencing the stuff in her lair. So academics 5. I'm gonna spend willpower. Why not?
Do it.
She has a really good hunch on this one.
It's there to be used.
Okay, 3 successes. Not as much as I'd hoped for, but
No. 3 successes is pretty good. I mean, it's not going to tell you everything, but what it does tell you is this. From what you can glean from the individual's research, and at this point, you are able to find out what the lady's name was. Her name was Sidsi, which is An interesting name, Sidse. And you can see that it was her computer. Her surname was Banks, so Sidse Banks. And she was a historical researcher. And she was looking into this Nightling saga specifically. She was looking for missing pages from the saga, the original version. There's apparently been a lot of rumour, legend, and innuendo surrounding the content of the Nightling saga and the missing pages of it that over time have ended up in the hands of collectors and the church for a while, having been stolen, ending up being sold at auction and all kinds of things, and others that have just never been found at all. And rather than her research going into what's different about the Nightling saga that she's looking into, and the Nightling saga that's well known, she's trying to find out what was possibly on these missing pages, and if she can't find that out, where the missing pages might be. With the original copy being in the Cathedral of St. Canud, it would be a treasure trove for a historian and a reputation maker, quite frankly, to even track down one of these pages that hasn't been read for centuries. And she appears to have been looking into it with an almost obsessive degree. From what you've been able to find, there is rumour that she seems to have placed a great deal of stock in that some of these missing pages, or at least one of these missing pages, is to be found in the Aloki Woods, which is a small stretch of woodland within Odense that, if rumours are to be believed, parts of this book, or this book entirely, the absolute original version, the template from which the first printed copy was made, was buried in the Aloki Woods.
That sounds like it could be a very valuable secret if she could confirm the truth. Never mind the actual potential benefits to their investigation.
The Nightling saga itself, as far as you know it, again recounts the life of King Canute, who was renowned as the last Viking king, supposedly blessed by God and the old gods, and torn down before his prime, one could say, by the people of Denmark. He was killed and martyred, and hence why he is now a saint, and there is a cathedral named after him. But the Nightling saga recounts his life, his many invasions of the British Isles, and how he was king of much at one point until his premature death.
Okay. Can I roll encyclopedic knowledge for occult? And I'm wondering if there are any occult rumors surrounding the story that might be disregarded as fantasy by the general populace, but
Yeah, go for it.
alright, so that's just a wits and intelligence. That succeeded 2 successes.
2 successes, okay. There's all sorts of rumours surrounding King Canute, probably because he is such a notable figure in mortal history. There's a lot of supernatural creatures that try to lay claim to him. So there's rumour that his body was reanimated eventually in the 19th century as a Frankenstein. There's rumours that he was embraced and he didn't die at all. There's actually rumours as well that he was one of the first hunters of his time, and he was brought down by true Vikings that wouldn't allow him to continue his hunt. In modern definition, they would have been known as slashers, who were once his own men, but had fallen to such depraved deeds, they took down the last and the noblest of them. There's a lot of rumours like that, but
Okay.
nothing substantial. Certainly, if he is a prominent figure in Odin's supernatural community now, he does not go by the name of Canute.
So she would relay this information to Maya, who's presumably there in the room, that there's potentially a lost page of the saga nearby, but that as far as she can tell, there's not really strong reasons to believe that it's associated with the supernatural. But obviously the person who had these devices was obsessive over it. And given that the events that led to her death definitely also spoke to some sort of instability, probably shouldn't discount that and the role it might have played.
And Maya, are you researching the electronic information that you have?
I am. To respond to Liza's offering of information, she just kind of stored that away and mentioned that there was a vampire outside of the pub that seemed like he was interested in what was happening. So maybe there is more to that story than anyone wants anyone else to believe, and who knows, maybe that's, kind of a cause of death, somebody covering it up. If she found out that Knut was a vampire, who knows, maybe that's the vampire. But more to the effect of what's in front of her, she's going to look into what she has, specifically with the idea in mind that the story of King Knut that the public has is no longer the truth. So she's kind of looking for discrepancies there as well.
Okay, as you go through the electronic information available to you to find this kind of information out, I'm going to ask you again to go for a computer and intelligence, if you could, please. It's more to sort the wheat from the chaff.
I believe that, yes, I'm going to spend another point of willpower on this roll. And that succeeded with 3 successes.
Okay. So you look into it a little more. First things you find, we'll start with the mundane, because 3 successes is, again, it's 1 more success, I think, than Liza got. So you find a little bit more. You start with the mundane, and what you find is Sid's inbox. First place you navigate. When you want to find out about a person, you look in their email. And you find there's a few emails back and forth between her and a judging from the history, a girlfriend, and then as you're working your way through it, a fiance. And everything seems to be going fine, arranging dates, when are you getting out of work, what do you think of this person, where should we go on our holidays, all building up. It's all very nice, very intense and loving, but in no way conflicted. But then you get an email from the fiance, from this individual by the name of Sarah. And in all caps, she's asking Sidse, you should have just told me if you wanted to leave me. And there's a response from Sidse, which is just, oh, fuck off. And Sarah responds again and says, I could have lived with you just leaving me. But having an affair is the most hurtful thing of all. I'll be coming to yours to pick up my things. And that's where it cuts off, but there's a separate chain of emails going on beside that that correspond to your main form of research regarding Canute and the Nightling saga that Liza's looking into. Because it appears that Sidsu was particularly interested in Canute as well. Supposedly, there were rumours that after his martyrdom, his being declared a saint, that he has appeared around Odense multiple times, often attributed as a ghost. The ghost of Canute, haunting the cathedral, haunting the palace grounds, haunting all kinds of places. But with enough propensity that there's enough local people that believe it. You can't find any evidence to say Sidsu believed it. Most interestingly, though, it appears that she commissioned, with her own money, an archaeological dig into the Aloki woods. So she seemed fairly confident as to where the location of one of these parts of the Nightling saga was. There is no response via email to say what the result of the archaeological dig was. But that was only 2 weeks ago.
She would take that information and, given what Liza has told her, bring that up. And again, she would kind of put the pieces together that this woman seemed to think that there was more to this legend than what was just in the stories. She would mention the ghost theory that she heard, had read, and mentioned that maybe they could find the ghost in the cathedral or the palace or any of these other places. But that maybe all of this started by looking into this somehow. She's not really sure how those pieces fit yet, but she knows that this woman was looking into this and then killed herself. And so she kind of feels there's a bridge and just hasn't constructed it yet. So that's the path she's going on, and she shares all that with Liza.
Is our buddy still in the bathroom? Should we check on him?
I assume Connor has emerged by this point.
Yep, I'll emerge, tucking my CD romance novel back into my pocket. Will I have emerged quickly enough to hear said last bit of information?
I think so, yes. Unless Maya was intending on keeping it from you.
No, if he was able to come out in time, that's perfect.
I'll comment that I would not be surprised if an archaeological dig found something that could correlate to the return of some sort of supernatural influence, as that's how it always works in the movies. They find the Ark.
An alarmingly good source sometimes.
Yeah. You dig up something that's been buried for a while, and sometimes bad things happen. On another note, though, I have a spot for you that I think will work for your need for supernatural fuckery.
Oh, good. That's good. Is it close?
How close is it to here?
You could probably get there within an hour's walk. So so an easy drive.
Yeah, reasonably close. Yeah. I was thinking over some stuff, and we had a incident at the local Danish Railway Museum a couple years back that, when putting all the cards together, was very obviously supernatural, and it ended with the death of a child, and was then cleaned up quite efficiently by either the people who were doing it or someone who went in and got rid of the people who were doing it. But it still gives people the feeling there is still wrong, and since death occurred, I've had a feeling that would work for you.
So this is where I think out of character things get a little just interesting, because with Mimir's wisdom, any mundane attempt to deceive the beast automatically fails. And he said he was thinking it over. He was thinking over some things. But out of character, I know that's not actually where he got that source of information. So
That's bull.
It's
It's funny because I both did and didn't, so I don't know. Because I did know things about it. The book just went, "Hey, this dummy," so I'm not sure.
I think in this case, because he had the prior knowledge, having been in Odense while all this was going on, I'm going to treat this as mundane.
So it's not an attempt at deception then, for the purposes of the items.
No, not really.
Okay. Yeah, she would be very excited to hear this information. Museums are almost as much her thing as libraries are, I think. They're still sources of knowledge. So this definitely piques her interest. How late at night is it at this point?
It's nearly dawn.
Very late. Probably not an adventure they should go on just yet.
What do you have to do to attune with this place? Do you have to dig deep into the ground underneath it and sleep, or do you have to get in the attic and set up crystals in the corners, or
nothing so messy. I am rather partial to the dark, so we head there tomorrow night, maybe, and I peer into the dream and wait for a revelatory vision of what took place there, and from there I can bring the location to my influence.
Okay. Now, a clarifying question. There are people who say they are fond of the dark because the sunlight kills them, and people who say they're fond of the dark just because they like the dark. Could you tell me if sunlight's going to kill you? Because I need to be sure of the blinds.
No, definitely.
Okay.
Don't have to worry about that. Nothing special kills me, as far as I know. Bullets are bad generally, but
I don't like being shot either. Yeah.
Yeah, sunlight should be okay. It's more of a mythological resonance. Secrets kept in the dark.
It's a Batman thing.
That's a more favorable comparison than I would have given, but sure.
I mean, Batman would be kind of scary in the daytime, but Batman coming out of a shadow at night and punching you in the face is significantly scarier. Therefore, Batman does most of the work at night.
That's really good, yeah. Never thought of it that way.
I like comics.
But
I haven't read them in years.
Is that a lie, by the way? I haven't read comics in years.
I don't think that would be a lie. No. I feel like he's one of those people who's just gets nostalgic over things, but kind of bounces from thing to thing. And comics have not been the thing of the month or the thing of the 6 months yet, since he's gotten out. So yeah, it'll happen, but it hasn't happened again yet.
Shouldn't let the things you enjoy slip away from you.
Well, as it is approaching dawn, we will leave these three now with the information they have acquired, and we will cut back to Thomas briefly as he heads back to his home. His phone beeps, or buzzes, to tell him a voicemail has been received. Must have just come through from the unknown caller from earlier.
I checked the voicemail.
Sounds electronic, broken, fragmented. And it just says, "You don't belong with them." And then immediately you hear, "Message deleted."
Do I recognize it as the voice of the it's not the Odin's Tower, is it? Okay.
It could be, but
No, he's got more direct ways of telling me that, so yeah.
that's where we will wrap up our session.